I'm Commissioner Cheryl Clappard of the Springfield Police Department, and I believe I was in front of you about 7 to 10 days ago in regards to traffic fatalities and accidents being on the increase, distracted driving and speeding being the root causes. I'm back in front of you again now because after that press conference there's 2 more fatals and some more serious accidents. So it's not a Springfield problem. The stats are showing us that it's nationwide. There's upticks in fatalities and serious accidents across the country. There's different ways of addressing it. Different police departments are coming up with different programs. Since Springfield is our responsibility, I've asked Metro Unit and Traffic Unit, Captain Dave Martin and Lieutenant Mel Kwiatkowski, to come up with a plan to see if we can even increase the enforcement and what we've been doing. So they have graciously done that. There's a good plan on my desk that we will start enforcing immediately. And it calls for, obviously, increased visibility of patrol units, increased citations, and not warnings, but citing. We're going to make use of the speed boards and the signs and the notifications. I am going to make use of crime analysis. I'm going to use city cameras and our cameras. And again, by use of the cameras, not to issue citations, to identify erratic driving. They watch these cameras all day long and all evening. So if the crime analysis people now see someone driving erratically, swift lane changes, speeding, they're going to notify the squad officers, and then we'll see if we can get a squad car in the area to determine if it's a citable offense. So I'm going to utilize that. I'm also going to ask the squad cruisers and anybody out on patrol in a marked car, if they are in service and not responding to a call but monitoring the thoroughfares in the city for speeding or distracted driving, to illuminate the blue lights on the overhead bar. This will be a reminder, hopefully, to drivers that this officer is watching for traffic violations. So slow down and pay attention. My concern is we're coming into a very busy season and a bad week. It has been my experience that Thanksgiving Eve can be more dangerous, or certainly just as dangerous as New Year's Eve, if you're not paying attention or you're speeding. The amount of traffic that will increase next week is a concern right through the holidays. And if distracted driving is a problem now, I see it being worse and more so as people have more on their minds as we approach the holidays. So we will be out there. I'm asking the officers to increase the traffic enforcement and the visibility using those methods. I'll have Captain Martin explain more what's involved in it. I will say I have met and had some very sad and emotional meetings last week with some of the families of these victims. It's heartbreaking, their stories, and their confusion when a traumatic event takes somebody quickly from you. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't want to continue to do that here in Springfield. So I'm asking you to pay attention, slow down. Don't think it can't affect you or that it won't happen to you. It certainly can, but we need everybody's cooperation. And having said that, I certainly need the cooperation of the courts in this matter. I think dismissing tickets, dismissing citations, not taking them seriously emboldens the driver to go out and repeat the offense. I'm asking clerks of courts and judges, if they find that there is reason for the citation to have been written, if they find that the driver is responsible, please uphold the ticket. We had 5 last week in front of a judge. All 5 were dismissed. Please do your job as I ask my officers to do theirs. And I know full well asking my officers to get out there and do LIDAR, to write tickets on these busy traffic thoroughfares, it certainly does put their lives in jeopardy. And I had an officer who was struck last month with serious injuries. So I'm asking of my officers to do what I want them to do. I would ask the courts, please do what you're supposed to do and help me with this terrible problem. I now want to bring up Captain Dave Martin of our Traffic Bureau.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning. So the plan moving forward is to build upon our activities that we're out there doing now. And we're going to utilize high visibility enforcement. And what this involves is utilizing our squad officers, Metro, Ordnance, and the Traffic Bureau. We're going to deploy those, based on data, we're going to deploy those units out into the areas for high visibility traffic enforcement. Another part of this is there's a visibility element where when we're out there, what we're going to do is we're going to set up message boards. And the message boards are going to show that we're out there and there's speed enforcement in that area. And the purpose of this is to let the public know that we're out there doing the job. And this is based on education and deterrence. And these message boards that we put out there, it's a deterrence. It's letting you know what you're doing and what you need to stop doing. And it could be speeding, it could be texting and driving, but we're going to deploy out into these areas, and you're going to see a large number of officers out there in addition to squad. And you will be cited. It will be zero tolerance. We work with other agencies. We work with the community. So far this year, we've done a couple of events with the community out there for Check Your Speed events. So we're working with everyone, whether it's state police and other agencies. We've put out anti-drag racing patrols. We've put out anti-dirt bike patrols. And we found that it's effective. It's being out there, educating the public, and doing our job. It's very disheartening when these officers are out there doing their job, and like the Commissioner said, the tickets aren't being upheld at court. Just recently, we had an officer out on a LiDAR deployment. He clocked a car at 73 miles an hour on State Street. The operator was 18 years old. The mother of the operator filed a complaint against the officer who wrote the citation. That's a bad message to send. It really is. The message, you have to educate people. You have to educate your loved ones. You have to educate family, friends, that the dangerousness of speeding in the city. 73 miles an hour, that's greater than highway speed. So like I said, we're going to be out there, we're going to saturate these areas, and you're going to see cruisers all over the place. And they're going to be doing their job, and it's going to be zero tolerance. So if you don't obey the sign, you can expect to get fined. Thank you.
Dave, another hardworking supervisor for me and contributes to this and helps me out greatly with the dirt bikes project, and we're doing one this afternoon, so it's a nice day. If you want to get out there on your dirt bike, go ahead. We're out there too. Lieutenant Mel Kwiatkowski.
How you doing? Like the Commissioner said, Lieutenant Mel Kwiatkowski. We're going to be continuing with this high visibility enforcement. One of the biggest things I think about it is letting the public know that we're going to be there. We're going to be there. It's going to be on social media. It's going to be on our Facebook page, so there's no excuse for people not to know. And I think with you, the media, to get the message out there is going to aid us in trying to help with public safety and slowing these people down and trying to prevent these high speeds, these, not always attributed to, but these fatals. And also I could say it gets dark early. So my advice to also pedestrians, bicyclists is also follow the rules of the road. That's incumbent upon you to do so. Be visible. High visibility is really important. I think that's necessary for your own safety. And like the captain and the commissioner basically stated, that we're going to be out there enforcing the laws, and we need the public's help to identify this with us. So we get complaints every day about speeding, and we try to put the speed boards out there, get data so that we can verify the speeds in the area, and then we do enforcement. But with the high visibility enforcement, we're going to be making it public and being out there and doing the enforcement the best we can.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Mel. I also was in touch recently with the state representatives, Bud Williams and Angela Pupolo, and I've asked their help. They're in the process of working to obtain some funding for me so that I can throw some more overtime details towards this project. So that would be very helpful, and I appreciate, believe me, their help and cooperation in this matter. I'd like to bring up now the Honorable Mayor Dominic Sarno.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Clapproot, and first of all, the Commissioner and I and Captain Martin, Lieutenant Kwiatkowski, our thoughts and prayers and sympathies and encouragement go out to the affected families. And thank you, Commissioner Clapproot. Yes, we have spoken to some of the families, and those are difficult conversations on these situations. As Commissioner Clapproot said, this seems to be a phenomenon that is occurring across the country, but our responsibility is the city of Springfield and our residents and business community. Simply put, there's about 3 or 4 aspects here. One, self-responsibility. A lot of these things that are occurring would not occur if you have responsible driving going on. 2, the dedicated men and women in blue are doing the job. We have the traffic enforcement. We are issuing numerous citations. We are making arrests, and in turn, we are not getting the backup from the courts. Commissioner Clapproot updated me yesterday with 5 other citations for speeding, reckless driving, that were dismissed by the courts, and you need to have that. The other aspect, too, is that what Lieutenant Kwiatkowski had mentioned. Some people say, Mayor or DPW Director Chris Signal, just put a crosswalk up. There takes a lot of engineering and traffic flow that has to be done. And pedestrians and bicyclists must be cognizant that this could give you a false sense of safety. You need to be cognizant of the traffic flow, the crosswalks that we do have, utilize. It's difficult to cross against traffic. In a majority of these cases, the individuals did not do anything wrong. It was speeding and distracted driving on it. As you know, on State Street, last week we picked up a young man who was speeding, had that automated, loaded weapon, and lo and behold, as was stated, he was picked up in 2019 with 2 weapons, but yet is back out on the streets. So this is going to be even more enhanced enforcement. I'm very appreciative. Representative Williams and Representative Pupolo did speak to me over the weekend, and they're trying to get allocation of funds as Commissioner Clapper will continue with these overtime details and the informational boards that we're going to be doing. And some of the things might sound slight in nature, but having, when you see those blue lights or you see the officers there, most of the times with people who are operating with some type of mind frame, they're going to slow down, and that's extremely important. The other thing I'll say to you too, on the dirt bikes, I want to remind the viewers, Text a Tip is still around. The media has all the information. Another tool in our toolkit is that sometimes people know where these illegal dirt bikes are being housed. You can text a tip that to us. It comes anonymously, and we work through the Sheriff's Department on that. And what we will do at that point in time, and again, it's anonymous, is we'll go and obtain a search warrant from court. And we'll go in and hit first and grab those bikes before they even get on the road. But again, 3 things. A lot of these things could be prevented if there is some self-responsibility. You heard what Captain Martin said. Young man, the kid's flying down State Street at 73 miles an hour, and his mother puts in a complaint against our men and women in blue. We probably, hopefully, could have saved that kid's life and the mother's life, plus someone else from getting hurt or killed on it. And what we also do, the enforcement will continue, but we need the courts to back us up. It's just when I get my updates, dismissed, 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 let go, low bail, no bail, slap on the hand, right back on the streets. How many times do my men and women in blue have to arrest these individuals? Keeping them locked up or getting them the help they need could not only save their lives, save other people's lives, and that's extremely important. Last thing I'll say, when these accidents do occur, we do coordinate with DPW and DPW Director Chris Signoli to see what caused this situation when a full investigation is done. Was it complete and other disrespectful behavior and actions of speeding, distracted driving, under the influence, or was it something to do with the physical landscape of the street or road area? We will continue with State Street. That study, I believe, the report will be coming out at the end of the month. And maybe, again, I'm not the engineer, but maybe there's a way to mitigate. Many times what we've been able to do is traffic islands or greenway areas to narrow certain areas, and then maybe look at a hawker's light with the proper sign notification before you're coming down, and also not to hinder the traffic flow at that point in time. But even with all that stuff being done, there are still individuals out there who don't give a, and I can't say, and just feel they can do whatever they want. They can speed, distracted driving. I don't know how people do that, text and drive, under the influence. So that's why we tell pedestrians and bicyclists, be cognizant of your surroundings. Just because you step foot in a crosswalk could give you a false sense of security, because some of the drivers aren't even paying attention to it, aren't even respecting it. We just came from downtown. The walk sign was at Bowen and Main for all the lights. Guy blew right through that red light. They don't care. So the point here is that blue is going to be out there. They're going to enforce it, and we're hoping the courts back it up. And as I said before, don't come crying here that, I need a break. That break could be that we saved your life. We saved other people's lives on it. So the enforcement is going to continue. Commissioner Clapper and the men and women in blue are doing their job. They're doing their job. But we need the backup now, and we need the cooperation of courts, and we need the cooperation of self-responsibility, and especially the parents out there. You said this person was an 18-year-old. Mom, you have to be nurturing. You have to be educating. You have to be mentoring. Your young person should not be driving 73 miles an hour, which again is higher than what's on the highway. If you're not going to think of others, think of yourself on it. So I'm very frank and blunt on this. So it's not a quick fix. Put a crosswalk in, just do this, just do that. All these things are being done. Self-responsibility, traffic enforcement will continue, and we need the courts to back us up with these citations and or these arrests. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Are there any questions of any of us?
Commissioner, an increase in enforcement concerns might be aligned with an increased enforcement might lead to an increase of racial profiling. What steps are you taking to address within your own department?
The officers of the Springfield Police Department know full well that we don't allow or promote racial profiling of any kind. What's out there and what confuses people, we bad driver profile. We can't tell, and I'm sure this officer on State Street at night with the 70th had no idea who's driving that vehicle, how old, what race, ethnicity, et cetera, et cetera. And I've always said that when I'm out in the street, when a car flies by you, you don't know who's driving. We don't need to racial profile. We have enough work by just bad driver profiling.
This is about saving lives. Skin color means nothing. It has nothing to do with this. This is about saving people's lives, even the perpetrators' lives. Period. So, a comment like that means if someone has a different skin color, it is okay for he or she to speed 100 miles an hour? This is all about saving lives, no matter what creed, color, or background. And again, could be saving the perpetrators' lives and others. That's the bottom line. That's what police do. Protect and serve. Help. So, listen, if you're driving correctly, you're not going to have any problems. Black, white, green, red, chartreuse doesn't matter, but it's about saving lives. And nobody should be getting a pass pertaining to that.
I can add to that a little bit. As far as speed enforcement, I'll ask you to go out today. 2 telephone poles should be about 300 feet away, okay? And you identify the race of the driver coming at you, okay? I doubt you can do that. Often when we do LiDAR for speeding, it's the distance, and we'll get the distance, and a lot of times it's written on the citation. So you'll have 500, 600 feet, all right? All you see is maybe the color of the car, and at night, there's no way of telling. So you're pulling over a motor vehicle specifically for a speeding infraction, okay? And whoever's driving is driving, and that's who's responsible. Race has nothing to do with it, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Mel. Anything else?
I have a question
On this or something else?
on something else.
How are the fines for speeding
That was my
calculated?
question.
I'll let the traffic.
How are the fines calculated?
It's for the first 10 mile an hour over the speed limit, it will be $105, okay? There's a head injury fund in there that's included. However, for each mile an hour over, it's $10 as it, so,
Each mile.
each mile an hour over,
Over the 10.
okay, over the speed limit. And it accrues from there. So it can get up there very quickly. Depending on the area, if you're going double the speed limit, you could be looking at, over a $300 ticket. So it can add up quick. And I think the courts look at that, but people need to be held accountable. And another thing that to address that I think where the people are being let go is the boldness is our hit and runs in the city as far as our crashes. Hit and runs as far as police responding to crashes are almost 25% of all our crashes. And we do about 5,000 or more police-initiated reports. That doesn't stand for operators' reports, which can be from 1 to 2,000, and then those people that just do a paper swap. But the ones that police are involved with, we're usually more than 5,000 a year in Springfield. We're now up to over 25% of those are hit and runs. And that's what enforcement's needed to lessen that. To me, that's an issue, and we're addressing it.
Lieutenant and Commissioner, can I ask too, and maybe sometimes the court say, well, geez, I'll give somebody a break. The insurance surcharges. You get whacked at an insurance surcharge, it's gonna get into your memory, hey, I better not do that again. So that's another thing too on these citations. If they're upheld, if they're completely being dismissed, they are emboldening people because they're like, what's the big deal? citation gets dismissed. They could have done something even worse, and they're let go. They're not even held after an arrest. And this is with weapons. Who cares? Who cares? And that is wrong, because when nobody cares, and we care, all of us here care, somebody gets hurt or somebody gets killed. So we're doing everything we can. So the people out there saying, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? We're doing it. We need our partners on the court system and our partners in the community, self-responsibility.
I have a follow-up question with that. For like a first citation, second citation, or first offense, second offense, what are the increases there?
As far, I don't, so.
Like if someone has like multiple offenses, do the prices increase there?
Well, if there's multiple offenses for one occasion, those would all be included on one citation. So if they're, if they're speeding, not wearing your seatbelt, say, unregistered or defective equipment or something like that, those are all compounded. It's not, if you get stopped for speeding and there's something else, that gets, that's an added fine on the citation.
I guess my question is, if someone gets stopped for speeding and then the next day they get stopped for speeding again, what's the
Found responsible.
I can get you the breakdown of the citations after this, and send it out to everyone.
Isn't there at some point, don't they yank your license?
They do, the
Well-
RMV, if you're found responsible, the RMV, if you have 5 responsible citations, they'll look at it and they can suspend and revoke your license, yes.
But it takes 5?
I believe that was the last, when I was in traffic, it was 5 responsible citations. So all the dismissals just hurt us.
But who cares? Who cares? Because how many times people are out there driving without any license?
Yeah.
Because there's no backup. So you know what he or she says? Who cares? Nothing's going to happen to me. Nothing's going to happen to me. So you see there's a domino effect here. So I get a little sick and tired of people coming at the police department all the time, or DPW about what you're doing. If there's something that needs to be done, we're doing it. We're doing it after, whether it's DPW, after a full investigation is done. But Commissioner reported me yesterday, 5 citations, every citation, all dismissed, all dismissed, all dismissed, all dismissed.
Have you communicated this with the courts?
Yes.
Yes, we have, and we do it, we have, and obviously we appreciate the media being here too on it, but we have communicated. Listen, I think there's some out there that are not too fond of me, but I'm going to keep fighting for my residents in the business community in the city of Springfield. As Bill Belichick says, do your job. I mean, State Street, as I said, the guys grabbed that kid again, speeding. Automatic, fully loaded weapon. Saying he got picked up for 2019. He's out in the street. Under the influence. That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
There's other factors that have to do with that, and that could be if somebody has a surchargeable crash. So they have a crash, speeding, other things that they are found responsible for. It can be 3 in a year, 3 within a year. So like if you get your license in August, you have until next August. It's not from January until December, okay?
The City Council's Maintenance and Development Committee is going to hold a meeting about this issue on Tuesday, I believe. And in previous meetings, and I know Lieutenant, you've been at some of those, they've discussed things like speed bumps, elevated crosswalks, things of that nature. And I know the DPW director has his opinions on those, but what's Commissioner or Lieutenant, what's the department's position? Would things like that be helpful if you had more speed bumps and elevated crosswalks around?
From what I'm seeing right now, no, Paul, that's not the problem. What I'm seeing, and I'm talking to these loved ones, I'm looking at these accident reports, and they can certainly correct me. I'm a little bit out of the actual outside enforcement realm. But what I'm seeing and reading has nothing to do with road design. It has to do with people going too fast for the road they're on and not paying attention. So we have to start addressing that. And I'm sure that Chris Signoli will tell you there's laws and rules in regards to how close crosswalks can be to each other. I think it's very pie in the sky to think that we're going to be able to build bridges where people can cross over the road. It's just not going to happen. But boy, if everybody would just be responsible and drive correctly and obey the rules of the road, we wouldn't even be worried about that.
I mean, you do have people that a crosswalk could be right there. Right there. It's in our nature. Straight line. I want the quickest path the way to get there. And then they'll do that. But I'd have to say in the majority of these accidents, are really not a pedestrian issue. It's just derelict driving that occurred on it. And you have to be careful, and that's why the engineers, the city engineers and the traffic engineers and the Chapter 90 rules and regulations, if something on a physical plan has to be done, it has to be done to help the problem, not to create another problem on it. And again, on that State Street, there was a crosswalk there. Some of the veteran reporters remember that, 70s all the way to the early 90s. Why was it taken down? Because people were getting hit and deaths were occurring. So, now there's different processes that we can do and let the professionals come across with that. But as Commissioner Clapper indicated, it seems that the multitude, if not all of these accidents, are from derelict driving, speeding, distracted driving, under the influence. And some of them, they're even carrying weapons on it. So, the council wants to meet, that's fine, but, we're doing everything humanly possible here on it, and we wanted to reiterate that. And again, Commissioner Clapper and Captain Martin, Lieutenant Kwiatkowski, there's going to be even more enhanced traffic enforcement and presence there. But you can't poo-poo self-responsibility. Parents, please, you got to tell your kid for their own good, for their own good.
And just Commissioner Clapper, one other question. Are there specific areas that you'll be going to, like State Street, George Street, Beach Boulevard, or will you just be citywide?
I want them to pay attention citywide, because no matter what area of the city, usually somebody has a street or thoroughfare that people are violating speed limits. But we use data-driven for a lot of these directed patrols. We have all the data where all these citations are being written, where the crashes are. So sometimes we use directed patrols based on citation data and crash data.
Perseda, we've also put with Director Signoli, Chris Signoli, if you noticed, after you do the design work, you have all the backup from the police department. There's been a number of spots in the city of Springfield that I've been able to put up new traffic lights too. I think of Mercy Hospital, I think of Cottage Street, and other places we are putting up street lights because it's appropriate that at that time. A lot of times we're doing it on our own. Sometimes you have to do it through MassDOT or Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and you have to have traffic studies on it. So we've also done that to mitigate traffic situations on it. So, it's just been to people who have lost loved ones, it's heartbreaking.
I have one other question. I've seen that a lot of people are saying that ice was a factor in the Worcester Street. Is that something that you guys are looking into?
Absolutely no comment because it's an ongoing investigation.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate getting the word out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.